Are we live? I ask this every single time. Let's check the ticks. 1, 2, 3. YouTube, tick. LinkedIn, tick. Facebook, tick. I think we are live. Welcome to Hump Day, everybody. It's Wednesday, well, at least where I am. And I want to say thank you for joining me on this live broadcast. We are going to be talking about how you can cut costs ethically without being a douchebag. And it's an interesting subject, and it certainly is a subjective subject that can highly differ depending on your business and what is going on. But I want to give you some maybe hot tips on things that you could look out for before you go in with a machete and hack away at everything you've built. Now, to backtrack one step, if you don't know who you have just clicked on, I am Aileen Day. I am the owner of Meraki Business Solutions, and what's the other business? Oh yeah, Value Driven Brand, and the newly to be released aileenday.com.au. So, well, that's actually the website. It's just Aileen Day. Oof, putting my name on things, so scary. Very good. Anyway, so I'm Aileen Day. I froth over all things customer, employee, and human experience, and I want to help you deliver all three of those things into your business to help you become a trusted, value-driven brand. That's right. Keyword, trusted. So, to become a trusted, value-driven brand, you have to, along the way, probably assess the expenses in the way that you do business. And that is, if you're not taking care of your numbers, then you probably need to find a way to start doing that, whether it's doing it yourself or hiring a expert in the field of finances to do it for you, be it a bookkeeper, an accountant, whatever it is. Start looking at your numbers. Because if you're not looking at your numbers, really you're just kind of steering the ship blind, and it's only a matter of time before you hit some bloody rocks. So the thing is, though, that when businesses go into points of business where they're probably not performing at their peak, their first reaction, and I say the word reaction instead of response, is to cut costs. Now, in my experience, I have worked for some of Australia's biggest retailers, and Bunnings, for example, their motto is lowest prices are just the beginning. Officeworks, they are everyday lowest prices, or EDLP. And basically what that means is the whole organization works on a low cost model. And it's very rare that you will find, expensive or wasteful pieces in the business. But that's not to say that there's not the opportunity to trim the fat. Now, the predicament is that in business, because we're probably not as creative as we'd like to be, our first port of call is to chop the line on the profit and loss statement that generally costs us the most money. Now, if you're watching on, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to jump in and tell me what you think that line might be. And when we hit that line with cutting away at it, the ridiculous outcome is that we actually hurt so many other pieces of our brand, and we definitely decimate any customer trust that we had previously built up. Not only do we decimate the customer trust, we decimate the employee trust. And if you haven't got it already, generally the first thing we do as a business owner or a leader is we cut our employee line. We cut the costs in what it takes to serve our customers. And look, I'm going to preface this with working on the theory that you are already scheduling your team in an appropriate fashion that isn't wasteful, then really cutting your team off the floor or out of hours, reducing hours, should be your absolute last port of call when it comes to cutting costs. So I want you to consider a few different things, right? Now, in my experience, generally, productivity has a lot to do with the ability to save money. And there is a great story by a guy called Dale Carnegie. You might have heard of him. He's been around for a while, right? Got a few stadiums named after him, a couple of books. You know, he's something like a big deal. Anyway, Dale Carnegie wrote a book called How to Win Friends and Influence Others. And in that book, he describes a story of a steel magnate in the US called Charles Schwab. Now, Charles Schwab had a predicament where his team were not delivering the outcomes and the outputs that ultimately resulted in him having to either fire people, or he was going to be in a position where he was going to have to shut down his business. And he decided that neither of those were options. He just couldn't do those two things. Something had to give. So one day he walked into the steel factory and he said to the head steel person, what's their name? Call it a supervisor. Site supervisor? Who cares? Whatever. Said to the guy, how many steel rods did you make today? And he said, we did 6. So Charles went and got a piece of chalk and he drew a monstrous, massive 6 on the concrete in the middle of the steel mill. So then later on, the night shift came in and they all circled around this number 6 on the ground, wondering what that was all about. And when finally someone piped up and said, hang on, that's how many rods they made today, we're going to do better than that. And what happened was the next day, Charles Schwab came back into the factory and there was a number 7. So the 6 was crossed out and there was a massive 7 on the concrete. And the day shift team saw the 7 and went, game on, moles. And that's exactly what they said. It's historically recorded. And they went ahead and decided that they were going to improve on the number 7 and do even better again. Now, ultimately what happened was Charles, without even having to really kind of intervene, actually created a intrinsic. So remember we talked about intrinsic. It's that internal drive, that motivation to push his team to be more productive, because he could see that there was certainly room to move when it came to the work that they were producing. And that is probably no different to your business as well. You know, our team, even ourselves, like, let's not lie to ourselves. We know that we have periods of, you know, work where we're just like in a slump and we're not highly motivated, we're not energized, and whatever it is that we're doing, we just maybe don't feel like we're being pushed enough to get the ultimate performance out of our team or out of ourselves. Now, by simply creating some intrinsic motivation, Charles Schwab actually got to the point where the two teams were producing such amazing outputs that he actually was able to put more people on in the factory, not shut it down, not cut costs, just through purely finding something that intrinsically motivated his team to drive and work harder, to perform stronger, right? And that's not to say that they're necessarily like slacking off, that it's just human nature. We have ebbs and flows, and they were in a pretty serious ebb. But you're the leader, so you can sit there and bitch and moan about how your team don't work very hard, or you could lead them forward into a level of productivity that intrinsically drives them to want to do better, right? And whether you further motivate them with, whether you incentivize it. I'm struggling to speak today. I can't speak good. Whether you incentivize it or whether you just purely just go, you know what, I'm so proud of you guys, because please don't underestimate the power of a thank you. Please don't underestimate the human need to just be acknowledged by another human. It's not, and I said this to a colleague yesterday, it's not always about the money. It is phenomenal how often you can actually change somebody's day by going up to them and target them for the work that they've done and acknowledge the effort and the performance that they've achieved. You will send them away on cloud nine, as long as it is authentic and genuine and it is meaningful. So don't do it just because you have to, because they will smell that stink a mile away. They'll be like, ugh, who told him to do that? He shouldn't have bothered, right? So find reasons to genuinely and authentically and meaningfully acknowledge your team for when they do increase production or performance. And you will find that they will want to do it even further again. Just when they thought they'd hit the end of what they could deliver, you go and do that. You go and give them a human experience. They're going to be like, oh, I'm going to try even harder again. Oh my God, they noticed, right? Because all we want is this level of self-actualization, that we're required, that we're needed, that we're a part of something bigger than ourselves, that there's a purpose in what we do. So the second thing that I want you to consider is space. Now, it's interesting. I was having this conversation with another colleague who was, up until COVID hit, was in quite a large workspace, and his team were wonderfully, stretched out and had all the room they needed, and it was wonderful. But the reality was that come COVID, there is this new-ish, flexible working arrangements have been around forever, but they are certainly amplified by COVID. So now he's in this position where he's got this massive warehouse with 20 people in it, but 15 of them work from home now. So rather than trying to cut costs in your resources, I want you to consider, and yes, I understand that it is a much more detailed activity to go into, be it trying to find someone to sublet a section of your workspace, or even go to the next step again, which is to get rid of that current workspace and find something more suitable for your new needs. Because, if I had $1 for every business I've spoken to in the last maybe 4 months, even so since COVID, well, at least here in Australia, hasn't really been a big thing as much. Their businesses, their employees are predominantly working from home, which I think is amazing. And I think from a business point of view, you have a wonderful opportunity to reassess the space that you have and that you use for business, and to try and adjust your costs to appropriately, facilitate the fact that half your team don't work in the office anymore. So what can you do differently that will help you reduce the way you spend, the way that you do business, and do it in conjunction with your team, I would also add, because you want them, that's still their home away from home, right? So don't just go, oh, they work from home now, so they don't care. They totally care. They absolutely care, right? If you go and get another office space, 55 kilometers further away because it was smaller or more suitable, they're totally going to care. They're never going to want to come back into the office, and they're going to resent the fact that you did that. So please do those things in conjunction with your team, but also take that into consideration before you go and chop hours out of your team resources. The other thing that I want you to then also consider before you go cutting any team members is to go and look at the other lines on your P&L. You have so many opportunities when you go and look at your P&L. And if you don't know what a P&L is, please get an accountant. Please don't be in business and not know what a P&L is. A P&L is a profit and loss statement. You can get so many amazing insights from them, but you need to be running them consistently because basically, the other thing is that the profit and loss is actually in arrears. So you might even consider things like a balance sheet, which is kind of forward facing. But either way, whatever report you're looking at, you will start to see a story of expenditure. And when you start to see a story of expenditure, you have the opportunity to improve that experience. So for example, you might have a whole bunch of things on your P&L that are depreciating, and you're not claiming the depreciation, right? Or it might be that you have really extensive cleaning costs. Well, that's a really great opportunity to go and start shopping around, right? Utilities. Oh my God, I know shopping for utilities like gas and electricity, all that stuff is just a hard day's work. But the money that you can save on your bottom line is insane because all of those utilities are absolutely commoditized. And what I mean by that is they're all based on price. They all have to pretty much deliver the same service. They have to pretty much deliver the same output. Like you can't just say, oh yeah, we'll give you power, but then only half your house works. It's all or nothing. So the beautiful thing is that it's all price pointed. But if you're just being a little bit lazy or not looking at all, then you are potentially just blowing money up. You might as well just go take a few $1,000s and put it in a bin. But I would rather put a few $1,000s into reinvesting in my business, working towards becoming a value-driven brand, helping my customers have an improved customer experience, having my employees feel like they are wanted, needed, and actualized. So there are a multitude of things that you can do before you go and just hit that line on the P&L that says team member expenses, wages, the wages line. I don't know why that didn't come into my head first, but please don't just go straight up for hitting the wages line. The other thing I'm going to say about your employees is if you're observing them and you don't believe that they're doing their job, then I am again going to insist that you as the leader need to have an open, honest, and timely conversation with them to help them understand what you perceive to be the issue and how you need them to correct it and what support you're going to deliver for them to do so. It was interesting, actually, the other day I was in a retailer, and I'm not going to name the retailer because I don't know if the person or that retailer actually watches this, and they could. But I saw a person in a position of authority walking around the store with, I'm presuming, the store manager. And to be honest, the store was a little bit of a shambles, but it is also one of those retailers where people can be jerks and they just kind of pick stuff up and then randomly dump it wherever they like. And there's lots of product lines. So it can very quickly get messy. And I listened to the person of authority telling the store manager that they didn't care. And she was trying to explain to him what she was planning to do or what her intentions were. And his response was, I don't care. I don't care. You've got 4 weeks. You've got 4 weeks. Make it happen. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what the lead up to that conversation is. But please know that telling anyone in an organization, whether you're at the end of your wits, whether you have no respect for that person, whether you would even rather see them gone, please don't tell them you don't care. Because if you don't care, why the fuck should they? It's as simple as that. So be a leader, and a leader leads, and a leader asks questions. Instead of saying, I don't care, I would have preferred to have seen that leader turn around and say, if that's what you think is best, or if that's your plan, great, right? And I could tell that they were feeling very terse about the situation. But what also aggravated me was watching the store manager run around trying to please this person. And look, I don't know if that store manager might not be very good at their job. I don't know. But ultimately, responding by saying, I don't care, is never going to get you the respect or the productivity, the sustained productivity that you want to see in your business. So find another way, because language matters, right? That I literally couldn't stop thinking about that all day. And even now, like we're nearly a week later and it's still like making me seethe. I literally actually wanted to pull that store manager aside and counsel them because I could see the fluster in their face and the just how is that going to support them? Even if they are on their last legs, how is you being an asshole going to push them to do better? Rather than just saying, I don't care, have an open, candid, honest conversation, tell them where they're at. And don't do it on the bloody shop floor or in front of customers. Oh my God, that nearly blew my mind. All right, my screen's gone black. No, we're back. All right, hopefully, technology, it's my friend. Anyway, so I'll finish that rant. The point being that if productivity is the biggest issue and you think, you know what, they need to go, then please do it appropriately. If you don't know how to manage those situations, please, there are organizations out there that can help you. I have contacts with EmploySure. Please get in touch with me. I can give you a special phone number even that you can get free advice for HR advice through using my special contacts. And I'll even actually tag Grant McKenzie from EmploySure, who's one of my colleagues. And if you have HR issues where you think, no, I'm just going to cut them out, please also know that if they prove that you cut their rosters in an aim to see them resign, it's illegal. You'll get in big trouble. So please don't do dodgy shit either. It's just not worth it. Open, honest, candid, timely conversations, documented, recorded, all of those things are the things that you need to do. Now, that is pretty much it for me today. I am going to be back on Sunday, all things going well. But I'm also curious. I would love to hear from you guys and ladies, peeps, as to what you are currently dealing with in business. What is got you by the toes and hung upside down? What is keeping you awake at night? And I know that sounds like such a boring question, like, oh, it's keeping you awake at night. But I'm curious because I want to be able to frame some of these live broadcasts around those topics so that I can help you, because that's what we're here for, to give you support and help and keep you ticking along and becoming that trusted, value-driven brand. That's what I want to see for you. So if you have some issues, some challenges, some interesting things occurring in your business, please feel free to DM me and let's have a chat about what's going on. And we can kind of, we might even get you on. We can share the screen. Won't that be lovely? Like a little baby podcast. But we can work around what's happening for you. Otherwise, it can be totally anonymous, and I'll just talk about it like it was just something I heard over the grapevine. No stress. All right, well, that is it for me. I hope to look forward to hearing from you. And until next time, please go out and deliver value for somebody in your life, because what goes around definitely comes around. I'm Aileen Day. Until next time.